Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or tea, and let's talk about astrology and the gene keys and anything else that comes up. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. It is another cloudy, sort of drippy morning here in the Pacific Northwest. We're very used to the clouds, so it feels sort of normal for us as we're moving into fall to have this kind of cloudy, drippy day. But I have to admit, I sort of miss the sun. Ooh, you did not hear me say that when I was complaining about it being hot. Um, hot is a relative term depending on what part of the country you live in. That is for sure. So we are here this morning. Good morning, Suzanne. The morning of the afternoon of the free webinar on human design energy centers. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts. It's good to see you out there this morning too. Good morning, Star Sister. Happy anniversary. Tina is here today. It's her 20th wedding anniversary. That is so awesome. Congratulations. And let's hear wishes for another 20 or more years of happiness together. That's awesome. Good morning, Mimi. Everybody's getting in this morning. This is awesome. So today we are doing the webinar this afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific time, and probably lasting for 90 minutes. I put it out there at 90 minutes because I'm not sure we can get through all of the centers in just 1 hour. I think we can, but then there will be questions, I'm sure, and people wanting to know about their own personal charts. So I built in a little extra time so that we could do that. That happens again at 4 p.m. Pacific time today. That will be 7 p.m. East Coast time and 6 p.m. if you're in the Central time, etc., etc. Interesting because I set this up, I don't know how long ago now. We've been trying to do it for the whole month of August, it seems like, and just life intervening, both, just technology wise, and in my family. And today, of course, the moon is void of course. The moon is void of course from 4:04 p.m. West Coast time until 6:30 p.m. West Coast time. So 7:04 p.m. to about 9:30 p.m. East Coast time. So, I didn't consult anything about what date and what time this would work out best, and it just happens to land across the entire of the void of course moon. I want to say, that was really poor timing on my part, but it really maybe isn't, because what else are you going to do during a void of course moon but sit down and relax and listen to something of interest to you about your human design? It's kind of humorous. So if you are someone who is attending the webinar but has not received their human design chart yet, you have until about 2 o'clock this afternoon, my time, Pacific time, to request your chart. That still gives me time to set it out or send it out to people. You'll want to have your chart in front of you, if possible, during the webinar, because as soon as I start talking about what all of this means, you're going to want to know personally, what does it mean for me? So have your chart available, right? You can print it, you can have it up on your screen, it doesn't matter. And then when we get to the question and answer part, because I'm using Zoom, we should be able to cast your screen or cast your chart up on the screen and be able to see what it is that you're talking about. So we can make this about as much as interactive as we possibly can today without us sitting in the same room talking about it, which would be fun. But I'm not sure how I could be in all the places that you all live at the same time. At least not physically, but we can do that through technology, which is kind of fun. So today we still have the moon in Aries. And so for some of you, let's see, I got a text message from somebody this morning telling me that the energy felt kind of, well, let's see, in her words, it was funky-ish, I believe she said. Let me see if I can get her words. She's been feeling very off balance this morning, like drunkish, so funky, LOL. Well, I don't feel drunkish. I don't feel funky. I just feel there's this. Remember when we were talking about the gene key 57 and there was this unease in the shadow of 57? And, Venus has left 57 now. She's definitely sitting at gate 32. But there's this vague feeling of unease that's running through the field. And I'm picking it up perhaps from other people because I don't carry that gate naturally. Um, but there is this vague sense that's of something weird going on in the behind the scenes, whether we're being worked on frequency wise by our own guides, masters, whatever you want to call them, or whether there's something about to happen in the bigger, wider world that we're tuning into. I don't know what it is, but she's not the only one to have noticed that sort of vague sense of something odd in the stream. And maybe it is the fact that Mars is sitting at the last couple of degrees of Pisces. Not Pisces, I mean of Capricorn, where we're tuned into maybe some changes that are needing to take place. Not sure. Maybe there's just a little bit of disconcertion out there. And I don't know. We are sort of like tuning forks, right? We pick it up. And the trick then is to try not to get into the vibration of it yourself, which I failed miserably at yesterday. And eventually I pulled myself back out of that vibration. It took some time, it took some focus. But eventually I was able to do that, such as the pattern that we are working with in our lives right now is that, yes, we can feel fear, anger, upset, all of the things that are happening when we're disrespected, when we don't feel abundant, when we don't feel heard, valued, recognized. And we take that feeling and we transmute it. Basically, that's what we're doing, is we're transmuting those things within us. And yeah, we're still human. And indeed, we're still sitting on this very physical planet. It's a possibility that we are just in a process of transmuting all of this energy. Debbie, I've had my right eye completely swollen, closed, and infected for 3 days. On the mend now with the miracle of antibiotics. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry, Debbie. The right eye, the masculine side of the body. What is it you don't want to see? I don't know. What are you not seeing clearly in the masculine? Those of you who are healers out there, maybe you have some other keen insights for Debbie as far as what that means. But it is interesting that the moon is in Aries because, and it has been since, let's see, what day was it? It moved into Aries. It was on Tuesday at 9:35 a.m. So Debbie, in your time zone, that would have been about 11:35 a.m. And because Aries rules the head and the face, it also rules the eyes. The eyes. So I don't know what that means for you, but keep mending, Debbie. Mimi says that's pretty cool. So things are weird. Things are upset. Today, the moon in Aries is opposing Venus in Libra, and that's in effect for the entire day, just about. And that calls up relationship issues, that calls up issues about whether we are in alignment with our values, where are our emotions at in all of this, and calling us to a higher love, perhaps from deeper within, from higher above. I'm not sure how to describe that, but that bigger energy of love, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Later in the day, the moon will come into a square with Mars. That adds some irritation to the day. That makes some volatility in our emotional world. It makes us a little more impulsive. We may say or do things that aren't particularly beneficial if we are in reaction mode instead of action mode, right? Action has consciousness to it. Reaction has no consciousness involved. And that means knee jerk, right? Are we going to be impulsive? Sometimes, impulsively giving somebody something that they really need or something that you feel good about giving isn't the kind of impulsivity I'm talking about, but I am talking about that knee-jerk reaction when someone hurts your feelings and you start on a tirade about them, or you take that and you begin a self-sabotaging process. And that is the kind of energy that impulsiveness doesn't help us with. But when we impulsively engage in some kind of service, that's a different story. Debbie, letting go of gunk, needing to rest and start receiving instead of just giving. Also released some pain about her dad's passing. Absolutely. Keep that releasing going on. And there, that is kind of the human body's pretty miraculous in this, right? Sometimes it will cause us to have to stop and slow down. And Debbie is a projector. I don't think you mind me sharing that, do you, Debbie? And she's a projector, and projectors are very much the ones who will get into the stream of doing. And you're going to see today when we talk about the sacral center, why it is that projectors who do not have a sacral center defined are pulling in all of the energy from the generated world around them, from the generators and the manifesting generators, and then they blast it back out there in a series of actions that are really that they're not designed to be taking. They have to enter into things in a completely different way via an invitation. And if they just keep going and going and going, then eventually their body's going to wear out. It's going to say, hey, I need a rest. Today's your rest day, Debbie. So take it easy. What does nope mean? Also release some pain about my dad. I don't know what nope. I forgot. Was there a question there that I asked you that you were answering? If so, tell us what that was about. So with the, Moon squaring Mars, there's that tendency to be impulsive, to confront uncontrollably, maybe in some respects. So be careful what you say. Try to temper everything with love. And if you have to remove yourself from the situation, if you can't think of something nice to say, today is not the day to remove yourself from the confrontation or the conflict. Go hide, go take a walk, go somewhere else away from the conflict. Later in the day, and this will be probably after, what did I say, 6:30 p.m. my time, the moon will conjunct Uranus, and it will also trine Saturn. Remember, Uranus is at about 2 degrees of Taurus, and that's where the moon moves next. And the planet Saturn is in Capricorn, a fellow earth sign to Taurus. And so the moon moving through Taurus brings both sensuousness and the need to feel touch, to really feel comfort, and to be very engaged with your senses. When I'm feeling really low, or when I'm not, feeling like, I don't know, many different feelings, right? I just want comfort, then I will usually put on some soft music, or maybe some uplifting music, or I find myself putting in candle scents that I feel good about. Like right now, I'm all into pumpkin spice and vanillas and things like that. Good morning, Stephanie from Australia, right? Good morning to you. And she says, action, not reaction. Stay away from conflict. I like that little reminder, and I'm a projector too. Yes, we love our projectors. I think I shared with you guys that I have, over the course of years that I've been doing, free charts for people, I've noticed that there are more projectors on the planet. And I'm not sure if it's just that they're coming out in and joining into their power now, or what that is. Or is it that the manifesting generators have run amok, and now we have to have the projectors in mass trying to work us through how to use our energies appropriately? Because after all, that's what projectors do really well. They manage and direct and guide, counsel the manifesting generators to get back in alignment with what they're here to do. So they're often the ones that are healers, readers, they're counselors. We find them in coaching positions because that's their strength. When they play to their strength, they're guiding, leading, and managing. They are not in the trenches doing the work. They are the more of the leadership roles on the planet. So I'm seeing more and more of them. And it could be just my fractal that I'm attracting them because for whatever reason, my energy can work with their energy. I'm not sure if that's the reason, or if literally there are more of them that are waking up That's a possibility. More of them waking up and reaching out for tools like human design that help them get square with what their energy is like. I'm not sure what it is, but definitely seeing more of them. And even from a, what was that called? A genetic heritage standpoint, we are losing manifestors and gaining projectors. So I think I'm just kind of seeing that um, switch to more of the guiding that we need in order to stay true to ourselves, and a lessening maybe of the energy of manifestors. Now, that does not mean that we will never we won't always have manifestors, because we will. There's just not as many of them at this point, and there never was. They were 8% of the population anyway. They were a smaller percentage, even than projectors. And yesterday I ran across a reflector, and I'm hoping she's going to join us tonight on the call or on the webinar, because it would be fascinating for her to hear how all of the open centers play out compared to someone who has all of them defined, because I also found one of them yesterday. How funny, two opposite things yesterday, a reflector and a generator that had all of the centers defined. And those kind of people are as unique as the reflectors are. So I've had the privilege of coming across a couple of those in my career. So that's been kind of fun. So late in the day, the moon conjunct Uranus, explosive, unexpected, revelatory, perhaps things. Because we're going later into the day with that one, maybe it translates into the dream time this evening, and that you're able to, through dreams or through meditation or through that twilight space between sleep and wakefulness, have some kind of an aha or an epiphany. That is the power of the moon in a conjunction with Uranus. It is also trining Saturn. So if there has been a problem that you've been working on, you know how sometimes we are in the daytime, we're trying to work for a solution on a problem. The more we work the problem, the more the solution eludes us. And in that case, sometimes if you just let go of the problem, if you let go and you just go on and do something else, then that leaves space for the epiphany to happen. Well, today or tonight into the evening, and maybe even into early part of tomorrow, the trine from the moon to Saturn may indeed, along with the conjunction to Uranus, help us solve a long-standing problem or something that you've been trying to find the solution to. And so Tina, 20 years with a reflector. 20 years with a reflector. Just reflect upon that for a moment. So if your reflector man is showing you health and ease and love and joy, you guys have been doing a good job. Because the reflector in your life is always going to reflect back to you the truth. It's going to reflect back to you the highest and the lowest energies that you're expressing in your life. So when you take a good look at your husband, Tina, what do you see being reflected back to you? That's beautiful, right? Beautiful. Okay, so let's see. Anything else? Anybody else with any comments, things they want me to work on before I go into veneration? Great. No, nothing else out there. So let's talk about veneration, the highest expression of the gate 32, the Siddhic state. So let's talk a little bit about, what does that mean? What does it mean, the Siddhic state? I mean, I look at these gene keys, every day. Yesterday, I was reading something extremely fascinating about the gene keys, and it really helped me overcome some of my angst yesterday. You remember I had an irritable sort of interaction in the morning, and it set the tone for, this inner irritation that I was experiencing, which I was able to release as the day went on. Not even very long after I left the broadcast yesterday morning, that energy sort of shifted, and which felt so much better than the irritable state that I was in. But you know what? I'm human. Okay. So the Siddhic state is where fear has been entirely transcended. So when we're talking about the state of the cities in all of the 64 gene keys, we're talking about that fear leaving our planet. Now, just because we're talking about the Siddhis, does that mean you're going to reach veneration in this lifetime? Well, I mean, it's distinctly possible. It's distinctly possible, but in order to do that, then we have to move through this process of releasing fear. All of those shadows in those 64 gene keys are all about fear and anger and ancestral lineages that of time and experiences that we're trying to move out of our DNA and out of our experience so that there's more room in our DNA for light, for the expression of light. The gift, the second from the shadow to the gift, the negative patterns like anger, like fear, like whatever it is that we're dealing with in the shadow are transformed into a positive force, into a beneficial force of service on the planet. So you'll note that the gift is the transition point where we take that fear and that whatever that negative this in this particular gene key, it's the fear of failure, right? The fear that we're going to die, that we won't survive, right? We can take that fear and simply by releasing the fear and raising our frequency to the gift level, the pathway, to doing that is through the pathway of service, the service that we do for the whole. That's where I started down a slippery slope. That word, service, 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 service gets me every time. It gets me every time because my concept of service is somehow, and I don't know how many of you feel like this, where to me, somehow service gives me that picture of the Mother Teresa, right? Where number one, it's, can I ever aspire to be as loving, giving, kind, and generous as she? But on the other hand, that path of service often feels like you're giving away the farm. You're giving more of yourself than you had to give in the first place. And then it doesn't become so much a space of loving giving as much as it is a pathway that feels like slavery, service and slavery. Eesh. I want to hear your comments. I want to see them. Anybody else feel that same way when they hear the word service? Anybody else have that sort of knee-jerk internal reaction? It's not that I feel that in the outer world. I feel that inside of me, like inside of me somewhere is this genetic heritage of giving until it hurts. We even have sayings like that, give until it hurts. Why? Why would we do that? Because the path of service isn't necessarily meant for that. I can't, my logical mind is saying that no one person can continue. There isn't sustainability in giving till it hurts. There isn't sustainability in being able to keep giving and every day getting up and giving more than what you have to give. Suzanne says, oh yeah, Debbie, oh yes. I don't feel it, I do it. I don't feel it, I do it. Yeah. So I struggle with that word. When I see service, I struggle. I have in the past struggled with that word. So essentially then, by simply raising the frequency of the gene key out of the shadow and into the gift, we're putting our gifts and our talents out there to the whole in a spirit of service. And in that way, service is really an expression of love. An expression of love. Not a pathway to slavery. But I can't help what I feel inside. And maybe it's my working through that part of the ancestral DNA, that part of us in vows of, I'm not even sure what I could say here, where we entered into, when you enter into a church, for example, or into a religion, let's not call it a church, but when you enter into a religion and the expectation is that you're going to tithe, that you're going to give of yourself, right? That expectation, I think, of you having to give is what gets to me. But when I just am able to say, hey, I want to give you this, or I want to serve you in this way, when we play the transformation game, some of you out there have played the transformation game with me in person. And one of the things that you gain in the game is a reward, if you will, for your serving another person in the game. And that feels good, right? That feels good, as opposed to service that is from a place of, I have to give something. It just doesn't feel the same. So service is literally an expression of love that gradually transforms our ancient karma. Stephanie Compton, yes, service is love. Thanks so much for this. You're welcome. Service, giving until it hurts. Yeah, so much in that word. It's like loaded, isn't it? It's like loaded words. I think maybe here's where it started in my life. In my life as an astrologer, is the very first reading that I actually ever had. Somebody said to me, oh, your sun is in the 12th house. That means you have to serve or suffer. Now, how would you feel if someone said that to you? Serve or suffer? What? Really? So I already struggle because I'm a life path 6 from being a doormat. And literally, at times in my life, I have given beyond what I could ever give or what I should have ever done, and taken care of and helped and guided and given money and yowza, to the point where, people actually had to intervene and say, stop it, right? My family intervening and saying, stop doing that. Because it's, a blind spot. But if someone comes up to you and says, serve or suffer, what do you think about the path of service? So for those of you who have the sun, or any other planet for that matter, in the 12th house, let's reframe that. Instead of serve or suffer, it is serve with love, share with love. When was this? Actually, I think it was when Jupiter was in Virgo, which would have been a couple of years back, where I totally reframed that whole transit from this idea of service into sharing from my gifts and my talents, right? So that it felt more like, Tina, 12th house sun, you know what I mean? Probably some astrologer or some book or some transit that you've read said, serve or suffer. Well, okay. Doesn't that set us up to be giving from a place already that isn't feeling good? Right? Serve or suffer. So now I'm going to have to give and give and give, because if I don't, I'm going to suffer. Yay. It's all caught up, right? And I think the time for this kind of energy is up on this planet as well. We all have something to share. We all have gifts and talents. You have a south node. Your south node in your human design chart, or in your regular astrology, shows you what you came to the planet with, both from ancestral karma, but also all of the gifts and talents. I always describe it as a cup, right? Cup filled. My Seahawks cup. Tomorrow I'll be wearing blue. Filled. Your cup is filled with gifts and talents and experiences. And in this lifetime, the North Node is where you have to spill those out, if you will. Like, take the cup full of dice and roll it outward toward the North Node. I'm going to use my little sample, our little sample from yesterday. This is what the now chart looks like, with the exception of gate 21 there, because the moon is not there anymore. But with this particular chart, what we see is the North Node is sitting at 31 and the South Node is sitting at 41. So 41 is the gift of imagination, the gift of fantasy, the gift of being creative. And the 31, it says, now take that and throw it outwards toward leadership, leading from your imagination, leading from your creative energies. So when you look at your own chart, that's funny because I can't even think of where, I know where I can't even think of where mine is, my North Node is, but it's the pathway that your gifts and talents, your sharing, your service come from the South Node and are thrown outward into the North Node. I hope that changes fundamentally how you feel about that. So service, sharing as an expression of love, and that gradually transforms not only your own DNA, your own karma, but it begins to change the whole. Here is where veneration comes in, right? Veneration occurs when the fear of survival, when the fear of failure burns away. And what you're left with is seeing yourself as part of that spiral of evolution. When I've done readings with quite a few of you out there, and you'll hear me talk about Jupiter sometimes. Jupiter transits as this spiral of evolution, and every 12 years it comes back around and you're moving up to the next level, and then back around and you move up to the next level, because Jupiter represents our growth and our expansion. But we see then ourselves that way, as a spiral, as a part of the spiral of evolution. When you reach the gift or the Siddhi of veneration, you're somewhere in this spiral when you realize without judgment that the spiral is made up of a continuum of people, of experiences in both the lower and the higher parts of the spiral. And you're able to see that without judgment. You're seeing that with awe and wonder and love, without judgment. You're not seeing it in a hierarchy, right? Because a lot of times we see things in a hierarchy. Those people down here are below me, and these people up here. So I'm aspiring to be these people up here while I'm standing on the shoulders of these people down here. And it's an interesting thought, right? Because every one of us moving through this spiral is standing on the shoulders of those who've come before in some way or another. So when we reach veneration, I looked up the word veneration this morning, and it was another one. Like if you look up the word peace, and it's just this, paltry little description, something like peace is the absence of war. That always gets me. Veneration is awe and respect. So I think it's deeper than that. Veneration happens when you see the interdependency of all life. Have I ever told you guys what I do? I probably have said this before, because my husband laughs at me every time I do it, but he plays along with me when we're in the car, because every year about this time, there starts to be a migration of caterpillars across the highway. Why do they cross the highway? To get to the other side. But they do. They cross the highway. And if I'm driving along and I see them, they're black. They're black with orange stripes. I don't know what they're going to be when they grow up and be butterflies or moths. I don't know. But I see them in the road, and I will make sure that my car tires are not running over them. So that means sometimes I'm moving into the other lane. Trust me, I live in a rural area. There's very rarely anybody coming at me. So it's safe for me to do that. I would not recommend you do that on a freeway unless you have plenty of space to do this. But my husband would ask me, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm saving the life of a caterpillar." Most people look at me like I'm an idiot. Like, what are you doing? You're risking, your own life by saving the life of a caterpillar? No, I'm not risking my own life. It is perfectly safe for me to do that. But why should I kill something that doesn't need to be killed? Why? Right? I have this value and a respect for life. I don't know how me and that caterpillar are interdependent upon one another, but I know that life supports life. And part of veneration is seeing that interdependency of all life, including those life forms that are other humans that we don't particularly love or enjoy. Youch. Veneration, when you reach that Siddhic state, is almost a feeling of being tiny and yet huge at the same time. When you recognize the part that you're playing on this planet. And, it's like what astronauts would tell you when they went to the moon and they looked back at the Earth with such awe, and how they felt like they were this teeny weeny speck in the against the landscape of this giant universe, of our solar system, of the backdrop of the stars and planets. And yet there was this magnificence. They also felt that we had achieved the ability to move beyond the Earth, to even be able to have, I'm getting chills even saying that, right? The ability that we can see ourselves as both tiny and huge and a part of everything. There's no separateness left with veneration. Only light, only love, focused through spirit. And that complete awe and reverence for everything, everyone, every being, every plant, every caterpillar, every insect. And that means spiders. I know out there, my family laughs at me because I catch and release spiders. Bees, if they get in my house, I catch and I release them. I just don't see the point of killing something unless it's trying to eat me. And most spiders aren't trying to eat me. They're just up in the corner somewhere. Right? They're not trying to eat me. Uh, I know I'm odd. I'm odd that way. But that's about reverence. Reverence that I feel for life, the reverence that we have for one another in our processes. Even though we are still tripping up on our progress through evolution, we have this within us to be able to get to veneration, where we're able to see ourselves as one, as whole, as healed, as healthy, as beauty, all of those gifts, all of those siddhis, all rolled into one. Debbie or Mimi, I'm a spark within the bonfire of source. I like that. I'm going to put that up. Chew on that for a while, guys. I am a spark within the bonfire of source. John Nicholas. I think you might have come into the wrong group. Hello, sir. Are you selling a couch? Nope. And I'm not a sir, as you can see. But John, you're welcome to join us here if you want to stay and learn about astrology. Debbie says, sorry, I need my space without insects. Well, Debbie, you know what? You live in Florida. I don't know. You probably have big insects. It's not that I want to share my space with insects. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, why should I kill them? I don't, if I was being overrun by something, that might be a different story. But, I might have a beekeeper come out if it was bees and remove them that way. If it was, I don't know. I did have an ant, not an infestation, but they were definitely finding their way into my house a lot. And I couldn't kill them. I just couldn't kill them. I would scoop them up and take them outside. And eventually they leave me alone. I don't know. Maybe they just realize, hey, I'm respecting her space now. I'm respecting her space. She didn't kill me. I'm respecting her space. So anyway, it's just who I am. It doesn't mean you all have to, escort insects out of your house. That wasn't my meaning. My meaning was this idea of the veneration of life, seeing the interdependency of all life. I don't know why there are fleas. I don't know why there are yellow jackets. I don't know why we need to have, flies. Oh, I guess I do. Fleas, I don't get. Mosquitoes, I don't get. I don't know why, but they have evolved right alongside of us. And so there's something here for us with them. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, veneration. So only it can occur when fear of failure or the fear that you're not going to survive is burned away. There we go. So that is it for me today. In my house equals dead, unless it's like a dragonfly. But don't dragonflies kind of freak you out a bit? I mean, I had a dragonfly get in my house one time, and I was a little freaked out by that because I wasn't sure what to do about it. I didn't want to hurt it. So I just opened up all my doors and windows, the ones that didn't have screens, hoping that it would figure its way out, and it did. So I didn't have to try to catch it in something or just because they're kind of freaky that way. And one time I had a bat in my house, a bat, and I was 9 months pregnant. So there wasn't much that I was going to do about it except call my neighbor. who dutifully came over and with a sheet, and they got the bat into the bathroom and they threw the sheet up over the shower and brought it flew up over the bat and down to the ground, and they just scooped it up and they took him outside and released him. It was pretty cool. I would never have thought of doing that. Anyway, so we have opportunities to show our respect for life. Now, certainly if a rattlesnake is after me, I might have to rethink that, especially if I'm cornered. I just, anyway, veneration, guys. That's what I wanted to talk about today, veneration. Tomorrow is Friday. And oh, here we go. My little book. I want to see what the next gate is, or if there's even a need to do anything with it for a bit. Venus is at gate 32, which is what we've been talking about, the fear of failure and the gift of preservation and the Siddhi of veneration through September 4th. I can't even believe it's going to be September. So next week, we will move into the gate 50, as that is the next fear gate on the spleen that Venus will move into. And in gate 50, we're dealing with the fear that we're going to fail in our responsibility to our tribe, to our family, to our community. And what's my card today? Do you want me to pull a card? I can pull a card. Hold on. Let me disappear for a moment. You guys see my SpongeBob on my bed? That's my husband. He loves SpongeBob. I just tolerate SpongeBob because I think he's kind of dumb, but he is kind of cute. So let's see. Somebody throw out a question. What do you want me to ask of the cards today? Let's just see what they want to tell us. Suzanne, how do you get all those cool hearts? Ooh, huh? I don't know where, because she gets these really cool. Debbie, you've got it too. That heart nested inside of a heart. Well, I pulled the card blessed. Blessed upside down, though, in protection mode. So for those of you who don't know, I'm using the Wisdom of the Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reed. I love this deck. Debbie gave us, oh, this is card number 22. And let me turn it the right side up. You can see double twos. To me, that's kind of fascinating that card would come out today, because I noted this morning, this was just me noting this morning, that Venus was sitting at 22 degrees of Libra, and that the planet Uranus and Venus in an opposition with Uranus at 2 degrees was 222. So anyway, I just like to I note those things, messages in the numbers. So this is card number 22, and let's see, blessed upside down. I can't even imagine in protection mode that blessed is a negative thing. Here we go. Card 22, the essential meanings of the card blessed. Something wonderful that is unearned and unexpected. Grace that is an unforeseen gift from spirit. In protection message, humility is called for now, as grace is an unearned gift. You didn't gain this by your own desires or actions. To be who you need to be, you can no longer do what you did. In a way, you have hit rock bottom, and what is required now is nothing less than total surrender. Then you will be blessed. Don't even know what to think about that. But it's a beautiful card nonetheless. Blessed, upside down. Debbie, any words of wisdom there? You've used these cards more. Debbie says, can't make this up. I can't. I don't make this up. Literally, 222, 222. Londa, how are you? Londa has been missing in the mornings because she's in Mexico. I think she's still in Mexico. And Debbie gets the message, just chill, from that card. I get that too. So Londa, I hope everything's going well in Mexico. I'm waiting for pictures of Chichen Itza. I'm sure I'll see them when you return. So anyway, I think that's all I have for today. She's still in retreat. Awesome. And you were in the Yucatan, right? The Yucatan is where you're in retreat. I don't remember exactly, but I hope all is going well. Maybe your group in retreat is helping the frequency on the planet rise from preservation to veneration, to the deep respect of all life forms. That's in a few days. Chichen Itza says in a few days. Well, no matter what, have a great time. Take care of yourself. Enjoy. Tepo- to, oh, Tepoztlan. Tepoztlan. That's where you are. Tepoztlan in Mexico, in the Yucatan area. I'm assuming that's a very Mayan word and very Mayan sounding. She's in the part of the world that I would love to spend some time in, exploring ancient Mayan ruins and so forth. All right, everybody, that's all I have for you this morning. Tune in again, 4 p.m. this afternoon. Follow your Zoom link at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. East Coast time, and have your human design chart with you. And let's learn about those energy centers and what they mean for us and how we come together in relationship as we can see through those particular centers. In the meantime, I am going to go back and do some work on all of that. Love you all as well. Suzanne says, love you all. So I'm sending much love and take care. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.